Olá, boa tarde a todos e todas, tudo bem? Estamos aqui no Case Startup Summit e eu sou Ana Baruffi, do InovaBrá. Teremos agora o painel sobre o futuro dos bancos. Eu vou agora falar em inglês, porque esse painel vai ser em inglês, ok? I will switch to English now. So, Fred and Eric, thank you so much for being here. It's really a pleasure to have you here with me. I would like to ask you first to introduce yourselves, to say a little bit about you and what is your experience right now. Thank you. So, Fred, if you want to start.
Okay, thank you very much for the invitation, Ana. My name is Frederico Pompeu. People call me Fred. I'm a partner of BTG Pactual, it's the largest investment bank in Brazil, actually in Latin America. And today I'm the head of Boost Lab. Boost Lab is the hub for tech companies at BTG Pactual. So we have a corporate venture arm, we have a venture debt arm, we also have what we call a potentialization program, a kind of a acceleration program for scale-ups. And we position ourselves as the point of contact of every entrepreneur whenever they need any banking help at BTG. Thank you again.
Excellent, thank you. Eric, please.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Ana Maria. Thank you very much for the invite. My name is Eric Scaramozzino. I work for Nubank in the area of product strategy and operations. I've been at Nubank for a bit over 1 year. Before that, I spent my entire career in Europe. I was based in London, working for a management consulting firm called Bain & Company, covering financial services clients and private equity funds. That's my background.
Great, thank you. So I will have some topics that I think will be interesting for us to cover today. And first, Eric, I would like to hear your thoughts on what are the main themes related to banking and fintech that you see as relevant right now?
Yeah, so look, I think first of all, we're about to, or we have entered an area of financial innovation, an era of financial innovation. I think we're just scratching the surface of what this wave of financial innovation is going to do. I think usually it's hard to grasp for people the size of the financial services industry on a global basis. It's roughly 20% of global GDP, and financial services is a sector that is also the largest consumer of IT services. So lots of potential impact here. And I think a theme that we'll see is that many more companies will start to enter financial services businesses through what I would call embedded finance capabilities. So that's, I think, one of the themes. Another one is probably around open banking. I think in Brazil, it's about to start. I think the promise of open banking in general has started to mature. It took a little bit longer than people originally thought. But I think in 2020, in some geographies and in Brazil, we'll start to see that. I think the power of open banking and embedding financial business models in non-financial services institutions. So that's another theme that I track. Another one, a third one around wallet business models, and I think Brazil is a super interesting country here, much more interesting than Europe, where I come from, and in emerging market in general, where we see both the population, the size of the economy growing, lots of innovation in the e-wallet space. And then lastly, I would say a theme around banks or financial institutions which kind of specialize a lot more than the financial institutions we have right now. So for instance, the bank for medical providers, for instance. And that's what I would define as like vertical bank, right? They do one thing for one segment very well, very deeply, as opposed to trying to serve a wide range of clients with fairly generic products. So those are the themes I would highlight.
Thank you, very interesting. one of the topics that you mentioned is open banking, and I guess that's something that is in our minds right now, since we will start to have that as a regulatory requirement for this year, and next year we will have data sharing across financial institutions. So it's a challenge for incumbents as well as an opportunity for everybody. But I would like to hear from Fred. So considering the strong role of the Brazilian regulator, and we are talking about open banking, we are talking about PIX that is also coming up very soon. Open finance, actually, since open banking in Brazil will be broader than what we have in other countries. So what are the main strategies that you identify to operate in this environment in which the regulator is being so proactive to stimulate these initiatives?
Yeah, as you both mentioned, the benefit of the open banking is that every and each fintechs and new incumbents will have access to data that they have never had before. And as you know, in Brazil, the concentration of the clients, the credit, and almost all financial products, they are very concentrated among the 6 largest banks of Brazil. You don't have this kind of concentration not even in America or in Europe. So I believe we have a unique opportunity over here in Brazil. I don't believe that we will have so pulverized strategy and banks as you have in US, where you have thousands of banks. But I believe in Brazil, that is a trend that you can't go against, is that in 5 years, for example, you will probably don't have this asset, credit, everything concentrated among the 6 largest ones, and new banks will come and occupy a little bit of this market. And I believe that we will probably have around from 10 to 20 players, not only banks, dividing this banking market in Brazil. So open banking will be crucial for that. And the legislator, as you mentioned, and the central bank is being very proactive and very vocal on forcing the banking system to go in this direction, right? So I believe it will be very good for Brazil, especially.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, actually, I have a follow-up question that I would like to see Eric's perspective. So how do you see the entrance of new companies, new players? Actually, Nubank is one of them, as we can say, or also other players from adjacent sectors, such as big techs and commerce and players, etc. How do you see that as changing the competitive landscape on banking?
Yeah, I think that's going to be very interesting, and I think some of it will be powered by open banking, because some of those e-commerce players, for instance, they'll embed financial services products in their business model, right? And they'll not necessarily manufacture those financial services products, because that's not what their core business is about. That's not their strength. They don't know how to do this, but they'll be distributor, right? So they might get financial services products from others, financial institutions, white label them, and then sell them to their customers, right? And control potentially the customer relationship, the customer interface. I think providing, for instance, loans at the point of sale in e-commerce is something that we've seen in Brazil, that we see in other geographies. I I only have non-Brazil examples in mind, but for instance, Affirm providing a point of sale loan when you want to buy those bikes called Peloton. I don't know if that rings a bell to anyone in your audience, but that's just one example, and I think we'll see a lot more of this. And I think it's going to encourage or force financial institutions to develop even better products for their customers, trying to serve them better, because the competition is going to come not only from 5, 6, or even 20 banks, but also from e-commerce players and a wide range of providers.
Yeah, it's actually a real challenge for those who've been the only providers financial services so far, I guess. And Fred, I think, like, just complementing this topic, how do you see these new players? Do you have a view on them as well?
Yes, what's very interesting about it is that it's a huge shift from what used to be from now, right? In the past, people were looking to how to be profitable, right? And right now, the main focus is how to serve your client better. How can you have the best user experience? And in this way, whenever your client is very satisfied and he's addicted to your product, and then you will find ways to monetize this, right? So it's a huge shift. I believe this started with Amazon, very different industry, but he was the first one who kind of have this prey, right? I say it's a prey, client focus, and then he spent 9 years not being profitable, and right now he is one of the largest companies in the world. So you have to be resilient and focus on the user experience of the client, and I believe the ones who have this the best user experience and the client focus will be the ones who will achieve this great experience for your clients, right?
This client perspective is actually a big shift from what we've seen in the past. The way banks would operate, they would most likely concentrate around products and services, and now they need to put the client in the center. And in this topic, I guess, Eric, do you see that? How do you operate to bring this perspective of the customer to inside the house to think about new initiatives? Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, look, I think at Nubank, we obviously pay a lot of attention to user interface, user research that we do before we launch any product. And I think overall, it's happening across the board, right? Again, I have maybe more experience in Europe and the US than in Brazil, but I think the large incumbent banks, they haven't been sleeping, if I may say, right? I think we've seen a lot of improvement around UX, even in those large incumbent banks that sometimes we like to criticize, but they've been around for a while. They're great competitors, and they will be around in the future. So I think UX is something that everyone pays attention to. This is obviously super critical, and I think coming back to one of the points I mentioned earlier is like it's a lot easier to build the best product when you know exactly who you're targeting with, right? And historically, when you had a branch or branches in a city, those branches, they were supposed to cater to everyone, right? From the middle income people to fairly wealthy individual to small businesses, and you had to develop products for kind of one size fits all. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but now with the internet, with mobile apps, you can target your customers a lot more, and that makes it a lot easier to develop the right products. I think that's at least my perspective.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And well, when we think about the customer, I guess Brazil has a particular situation when we compare to the developed world, since we do have a very heterogeneous population. So both in terms of generations, that's actually an issue that is common between countries around the world, but in terms of income, in terms of access to digital tools, so and also the capability of using those tools. And Fred, how do you see the challenges of financial inclusion and financial education in this environment in a country that is so heterogeneous?
Yes, we see as a huge opportunity, not only for the banks, but for the fintechs and all the major players, right? The majority of the population of Brazil is unbanked, but they do need credit, they do need financial services, they do need at least part of the experience that we three also need whenever using a bank. So we believe that and a lot of these people that are unbanked right now, they are also able to get credit. The point is that they don't know how, or the banks don't have the access or the reach to these clients. So I believe that each day more, people are getting used to technology, and they are getting more addicted to your mobile phones. And then whenever you can track their revenues, their kind of expenditure, whenever the banks, with their allowance, obviously, understand more the client profile, they will be able to offer more dedicated, more specific products for them in order to serve this huge population that today don't have access to banks, right? So I believe we can say we are in a unique, we have a unique opportunity in Brazil to reach all these future clients.
And Eric, on the new bank's perspective, how do you see your competitive power in comparison to incumbent institutions or to other banks in general when we talk about this underprivileged segment of the population?
Yeah, I think we probably have a cost base that maybe allow us to serve those customers that might not be profitable for others to serve. So that might be one way of looking at it. Again, I don't know if it's actually true or not, but that's my perception. Maybe it was hard to serve some segments of the population with a certain cost base. But I think what we see here is a lot of mobile wallets, which kind of serve kind of could replace banks in the future, and have attracted in Brazil and other emerging market geographies and the developed world as well to some extent, millions of customers, and those customers might not necessarily have a bank, but they have access to a wallet. And what's the difference between a bank and a wallet? I think the line gets very blurry, but it meets the customer needs, and at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Definitely, and as we were discussing earlier, the customer in the center, it's actually what is in fashion right now, right? Everybody is actually using this perspective. And then when we talk about these new entrants, we do have the fintechs that are trying to enter the market. Nubank in the end is still a fintech, as it even if it's a very, very large one. But I would like to ask to Fred, how do you see the interaction with these new entrants? Do you see the possibility of pursuing partnerships and collaboration with them to grow? And how do you see that as BTG's perspective?
Sorry, Anna, but I lost the connection for a few minutes. I didn't hear the question. Sorry.
No problem. I'll go again. No, we were just saying that there are new entrants in the market, specifically, more specifically, fintechs, and Nubank is still a fintech, a very large one. But I would like to hear from you. What is your opinion about these new entrants? How do you see the possibility of pursuing partnerships and collaborating with them? And how does that help you to grow?
In the end, that's why we created BoostLab at BTG. We noticed that we had to be closer to these new entrepreneurs and new solutions, new way of thinking, because we just launched a new retail bank, right? An online bank called BTG Plus, BTG Mais actually. And then we noticed that if we decided to develop everything and every feature internally, it would take years and years to launch the bank, right? And whenever you do these partnerships with fintechs, actually startups in general, that may help you attract more clients, be more efficient when giving credit, credit cards, understanding better the profile of your client. A lot of features that we can partner with these fintechs and give a boost to our bank. That's BoostLab. So give a boost not only for our retail bank, but also for our investment bank. I'm very positive about this collaboration and this partnership with the fintechs in general. We can invest in some of them. We can use some of them as a client, but in the end, is a two-way partnership, right? Because as we use them over here, they can also use us as their banking providers, as helping them with FX transactions, helping them getting public with IPOs. So I believe this is very good for the ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah, I also believe in that. We do have the same perspective here as well. And then when we talk about these partnerships, still with Fred, what are the main lessons you've learned so far? I think we lost him, the signal again.
Sorry, I lost a little bit the connection again.
Problem.
Can you please repeat?
No problem. What are the lessons you've learned so far with these partnerships with fintechs and other startups?
I believe the first.
I think we lost him again for a little bit.
Looks like it. Maybe I can jump in, Ana Maria.
Yes, please.
I think it's the old buy or build or partner strategy, right? Even as a fintech, you might not be good at building everything, and it might take you a lot of time to build something, especially if you don't have the right capabilities, the right experience, or just enough people. Finding good people it takes time. to train them, etc. So it's about knowing where your limits are and when to partner to be fast to market and provide best-in-class products to your customers. I think that's what matters, because customers more and more have choice, right? And I don't see any good reason why they should buy subpar banking products or products in general from any provider if they can shop around and find better products elsewhere. So I think that's the angle I use when thinking about partnerships.
And the switching cost is very low today, right? It used to be huge in the past because you need to go to another branch, open an account over there, and now you can open an account in your home at any time you want with your mobile, right? So the switching cost is so low today that you have to provide the best experience, the best user experience for the client to get them addicted to your product in this way. And as you it's hard to be very, very good in everything. The partnership with the best providers, I believe, is the best way to have your client more engaged with your platform or your bank or your startup.
Very interesting, yeah. And I believe these partnerships in the end they create a better environment, like a better result for everybody, both for those involved in the partnership as well for the customers. So I believe they do deliver.
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, exactly. And when we talk about that, actually, it comes to my mind the topic of banks going out of their comfort zone and trying to explore other sectors or non-financial services in their offerings. And I would like to hear from both of you, maybe starting from Eric and then Fred. What are your views on that, and maybe what are the main areas you think that would make sense? And that's basically my question.
Yeah, it's a good question, Ana Maria, and we're thinking about it hard. I think what's important is to develop a value proposition that creates engagement with the customers, right? Because customers, they are not only looking for financial services, products and services, they're looking for things that simplify their lives, right? And if you can, in a banking app or a wallet, kind of top up your mobile phone instead of going to a mobile phone shop and do the top up physically or anywhere you can do that in Brazil, I think you're making your customers' life easier. And that's one type of partnerships, but is adding value to customers' daily lives, right? In Europe, we do in big cities, contactless is becoming very, very popular. You can pay public transportation by just tapping your mobile phone on the underground entrance in London, for instance. And I think that's great, right? Whether banks thought about doing that 20 years ago, probably not, right? But it came sooner than we may have realized, and I think it's only the beginning.
In the end, Ana, I believe it's all about customer stickiness, right? The more and more time that you get your customer using your app, it's better for the client, right? For the bank or for the service provider, because you have more contact with your clients. So I believe that's why some other banks started to have marketplaces and other offerings in your apps. So you get this stickiness that's so important to better understand your customer profile and better enhance the opportunity to offer them the best products and best services.
Yeah, and then I guess one of the things I see that probably helps the most to offer these solutions and to profit from data in that way would be the skills related to data science and the way the company is organized around it. So I would like to ask Eric, which capabilities, which technologies do you see as the most relevant right now to build the bank of the future?
Yeah, as you said, I think data access and making sense of the incredible amount of data that gets collected in a compliant way, right? Because we are talking about financial services, and you cannot do everything with the customer's data. So I think this is something that we are obviously try to do, and it's a learning process, right? You start with not a lot of data, then you get more, you use it, you try to make sense of it, and it's something that you do over time. Obviously, we're at the very beginning, but I think it's an exciting area, and I think this is how we can, in the end, differentiate ourselves by providing products and services that are tailored to customers and not generic in a way that they meet the needs of the average Brazilian, for instance, or the average European.
Yeah, interesting. And I guess some large tech providers, they are very good on that. They are very good on using data, monetizing over it, and working around that to build new sources of revenue. I would like to hear from Fred. How do you see the big techs in that context on offering financial services, and maybe the possibility of banks having offering their services through these companies to their final clients? How do you see that as a perspective for the future?
Yeah, I believe that's a trend. And they will give a hard time for fintechs and banks. So in US especially, we've started to see some partnerships with banks, with these main tech companies, because the tech companies, they have the most valuable asset today, right? They have data. And whenever you see all the possibilities using artificial intelligence when applied to this data, that it's infinite, right? You can do anything, and that's why the big four tech companies in US, they are the most valuable right now. I'm sure that in 5 years. Today, we don't have any tech company among the top largest, the 10 largest companies in our stock exchange, despite the fact that Mercado Livre today is the most valuable company in Latin America, right? But in Bovespa, B3, any of the 10 most valuable companies are tech companies. I'm sure that whenever we have this same chat over here in 3 to 5 years, we will have tech companies among the 10 largest B3 most valuable ones. So that's a trend. Whenever you have data, and these tech companies, they have more data than anyone else, it's important to follow closely and to do partnerships whenever you can, and whenever it's good for both sides, right? You see the same thing, and I believe they are more advanced than US in China. I had the opportunity to go to China 2 years ago, and it's amazing what Alibaba and WeChat were able to develop in terms of financial offerings and financial products due to the amount of data that they were able to get from the billions of clients that they have. So it's really important to understand and follow closely.
Very interesting. And then I have it's not a challenge, it's more a futuristic question to Eric. So do you think banks can try, or banks and neobanks and fintechs, they can try to become somehow tech companies and maybe develop super apps or something like that?
Yeah, that's a big question, Ana Maria. I think as we were saying before, experimenting doesn't cost as much as it used to. So I think there's no harm trying. There's no harm doing things on the side that may or may not lead to something exciting and big for the customer. I think more and more you see. I keep talking about wallets, but you see wallets doing things in financial services and outside of financial services without being a bank, right? And I see more and more financial institutions doing that in Brazil and elsewhere. So I think we're at the beginning of a wave of innovation in that space. Super exciting, but time will tell, I think.
Yeah, well, I think we will see it maybe soon, right? Since the world is changing so fast. And I mean, we've been in this trend of digital transformation in the whole society. And I would like to hear first from Fred and then from Eric, what are the main lessons learned so far in this increasingly digital world around banking?
The things that call more my attention are the followings. The use of data and the possibilities of how to use the data, how the artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is the same thing that we had before, right? Whenever you had a personalized service, but in another type of scale, right? So the sentence that Eric used a few moments ago, that one size fits all, that used to be the standard in the past, we now understand that it's not the best way to serve the client. Your client doesn't want to be offered or served by the same product that me, Eric, or you. We have different needs and different perspectives, right? So whenever you better understand what you need, and I can offer you the correct product, the correct credit, whenever you need, the chances that we get more effective and more profitable in the end are huge than that, right? And the third point that calls a lot of my attention is that how the adherence of the technologies are getting faster and faster. So in the past, I remember the first time I had to input my credit card in a website, I got really doubtful, right? Oh, will it work or not? And things like that. And right now, things get very fast. This type of experience and types of adherence to the new technologies are getting faster and faster.
And I think we will be running out of time. So we got a 2-minute sign 2 minutes ago. So Eric, I would like to say, I'm sorry that I cannot hear your comments right now, but well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your thoughts with us. It was a really insightful session. I hope everybody who is in the audience learned as I learned now. And well, it's a challenging, but it's a very interesting world. Let's see how we can make the best for the client, right? And
right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frederico.
Obrigada a todos que assistiram. É um prazer estar aqui com vocês e a gente se vê na próxima. Até mais.
Tchau, abraço.